You are listening to The Michael Lodge Show. Wealth, business, and taxes. Oh, yeah, and some politics. Let's get started.
Well, I haven't been on for about 4 days now. I haven't done a podcast in 4 days. And I'm ashamed of myself. I know you guys are saying, where have you been? But I'm ashamed of myself. I have just been busy. And it's the kind of busy that just literally drains the mental strength out of you at the end of the day. And all you want to do is just sleep because you're just so tired. So, I did not do a podcast. And I apologize. But it's my fault. It's my fault that I didn't do it. One of the things that they teach you when you're doing podcasts is that you have to be consistent at all times. The same thing when you're doing blogging or any other type of social media type of event. You are supposed to be consistent. Well, I wasn't consistent for 4 days. I was consistent in my work habit because I was working hard. But I was not consistent in delivering a podcast like I was supposed to do. Yeah, I listen to so many people who teach people how to do podcasts. And I've been doing podcasts almost for over 3 years now. And I keep listening to see how can I do it better? How can I improve? How can I do, anything that will make it a better listening experience to you guys out there. And a lot of it is, it drills right down to being consistent with your message, consistent with delivering something to those that listen to you. But there are times, and I have been consistent. I am almost to my 1,000 podcasts. Now that's a lot of podcasts for podcasters. That's a lot. There are people who are teaching this subject of podcasting that have not gotten up to 1,000. But I feel as though that over the past few years, I have been consistent in delivering the message of business, of mediation, of taxes, some politics along the way, because we've had some elections throughout the years. And I felt as though I've been trying to be consistent within my message. Although I haven't been consistent in delivering every single day on a podcast. I just haven't done it. So over the weekend I thought, what am I going to talk about in my next podcast? And I was thinking about all the experiences that I'm having currently in mediation. Now, when I started doing mediation, I said, you know what, I don't want to do divorce. I don't want to do separation. I don't want to do that kind of mediation. However, it just kept coming to me. And it keeps coming to me to this day. I love doing business mediation because business is straightforward. So I listen to the story, we get down to the nitty gritty, and we come to a conclusion or an agreement. Divorce and family mediation is different because we're dealing with emotions, human emotions. Emotions of love, emotions of hate, emotions of mistrust, and the list goes on. And then you've got children involved. And I always say I'm not going to get involved in this because it's just too emotionally draining. But they keep coming, and I keep getting them every single day. and I keep telling myself, I'm not going to do this, but they keep coming. And I keep doing it only because I have to remind myself that the reason why I got into mediation was because I wanted to help people. Mediation is a helping service. It's to help people resolve issues and to get back online, to get back on the right path. And that's why I keep doing family mediation, divorce mediation, separation mediation, prenup mediation. And I keep doing it only because I feel as though that I need to help people. Now, there's an issue here that I wanted to talk to you about. And it's the problem that, when you decide, I really love this person, and I'm going to marry the person. I'm going to go to my pastor. We're going to make the arrangements on for that special day. The problem is that you forget one aspect of it. How much do you know about marriage and family life? How much do you know about communication? How much do you know about religious issues within the family? How much do you know about the financial issues? How much do you know about the stress of marriage and the joys of marriage? How much do you know about the sexual issues that come up? I don't think that when you are planning a marriage, you think enough about the issues of marriage and family life. Because this is going to be a new role that you play. You were single, you were out there, you were doing your thing, you were going up in life, in your career at the office, you were creating a business, you were involved in so much, and now all of a sudden you have met someone that you love. And love, we have to examine that word at some point in time. What is that love that you feel for this person? And now you've decided, I want to get married, and so either you run off. I've done a lot of elopings when I've married people, and they all seem to want to come here to Florida to elope from New York and Washington, D.C., all over the place. They're coming here, and they say, we're eloping. So there are all these aspects of marriage that I don't believe people are paying attention to before they say, I do. And I place a lot of the responsibilities on pastors who are not focusing on the issues of marriage prior to performing the ceremony. Now, when I was in school, and I went to a Christian school up in the state of Washington, all of us, every single one of us, we were required to take one course. And that course name was Marriage and Family Life. Marriage and Family Life. We had to take it. It was a required course of every single student to take. And it lasted a whole semester. Now, if you wanted to advance it, there were other courses that you could take also. But it was a requirement for all of us to take that marriage and family life. Now, in a Christian college, it's a little bit different. Because we're going there to get our degree, but a lot of them are going there to meet, and they will meet, the future somebody. And so the school felt that since a lot of pastors were going out into the world after they finished their seminary, that they needed the course on marriage and family life because they were there also to find a woman to call a wife. Because at that time, it was not thought of very well that a pastor would go out without having a wife. They became a team of that church. So we had a lot of them getting married in the middle, or not getting married, but announcing that they were going to get married in the middle of their senior year. Now we had a tradition at the college, and that is that if a guy announced that he was going to get married, we would all clamor to his room in the dorm, pick him up literally, hold him down, pick him up, and traipse all the way across campus to what was called the pond. And it was right in front of the girls' dorm. So the girls could see the whole event. Here came all these guys yelling and shouting and acting like fools, and they threw this guy into the pond. Now, in the wintertime, the pond froze over. So they threw this guy in this cold pond and broke the ice as they threw him in. And then he would have to traipse back all the way to sit in the hall. And literally, it was so cold out that you could literally see his footprints on the sidewalk because the water had frozen already by the time we were going back to sit in the hall to the dorm. Now, it's so funny because the men only had one single dorm. The girls had 3 dorms. I don't know why. So the problem is that people came to college not just to get a degree, but also to find a husband or a wife. Now, when we went to this course, the course covered everything. It covered everything from making the beds, the responsibilities of the husband to the wife and the wife to the husband, the communication process, the marriage process, the divorce process, the counseling process. It went through the whole thing of what is out there to help the marriage move forward and to last. And I would say that the majority of the people that got married at college remain married. And a lot of them are still pastors, a lot of them are nurses, a lot of them are physicians, a lot of them are doctors, and they have been able to remain married. Now, a lot of, not a lot, but some of my friends did get a divorce. But after they got the divorce, they never got remarried after that. So, I don't know if it was because they just felt that biblically it wasn't right to get married. I don't know. I don't know why they didn't get married again. It's not for me to ask that. Or they were just so burnt out on the issues of marriage that they decided, I'm not going to try it again. That could be another source too. But we were all required to take this course. And the teacher who taught it, I can't even remember her name. Gosh, I wish I could remember her name. But she was very good at the course. She had taught the course for years and years and years. Because this course was mandatory. It had been part of the education curriculum for years and years and years. I think that every single church needs to have a marriage and family life. When I hear the cases that come before me on divorce and separation and children in the divorce, it's almost the exact same story, exact same hurts, the exact same anger, the exact same communication process, the exact same angry words that get said. And they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to deal with the communication process. I tell you, communicating in a marriage is so very important. But the communication changes from when you are single to when you get married, and no one warns them about that. Because you go from I to we. And then pretty soon you have children, it becomes us. So you go from I to we to us. But you were never taught how to communicate through the process of marriage. Because it's totally different. It's no longer thinking just about what you're going to do. Now it becomes what you and your spouse is going to do. And how you communicate through the process, how you communicate through the anger and the emotional times and the ups and the downs and the financial crisis and the financial good times. You forget how to communicate. You forget about it. And that communication process is usually what, if you have a bad communication process, is what begins to drive the wedge between the marriage. Because you haven't learned how to communicate the right way. And then when the children come along, your whole communication process changes even greater, because now you've got the responsibility of not only communicating with your spouse and being on point with your spouse in the raising of the children and then you have to communicate with the children in a different way throughout this whole process. You get confused, you get angry, you get upset, you get off into tangents, you get stupid sometimes. And so the communication process breaks down even greater sometimes, because no one taught you at the very beginning that this was going to happen. No one prepared you for it. No one prepared you how angry your spouse might get because of one little word. Or that you are the type of person that loves to push buttons and loves to try to create conflict and strife. If you're that kind of a person, you should not even be married. I'm telling you, if you love to push people's buttons, forget about doing that. Go into a profession that's perfect for you to push buttons. But in a marriage, it's not. Raising children, it's not. Now, don't you think it would have been great if your school or your church, and pastors, I'm speaking directly to you now, you've got to pick up the mantle here and run with it. Because divorce in family life and the conflict within families continues on. And if you are not giving some type of church course on marriage and family life, and continue on with marriage and family life, even after people are married people still need a course that gets them back to the ground rules. Setting the objectives of how to live within a family. As a husband and wife, as a mother and father to children. So I'm asking pastors, please, do your job. If you are going to perform marriages in your church to anybody, you had better be teaching those individuals what marriage and family life is going to be all about. If you are not sitting down with them and counseling them months in advance of saying I do, you're not doing your job as a pastor. If you're just standing up there and saying, do you take this person to be your lawfully wedded husband and wife? If that is all that you're doing, and to give a nice little sermon, if that's all that you're doing, you're not doing your job as a pastor. And if you are not continually educating yourself on marriage and family life and attending seminars and continuing education courses that are going to enhance your ability to teach and to counsel in marriage and family issues, you are not doing your job as a pastor. Before people even say I do, they need to be sitting down with their pastor, or they need to be sitting down within the church setting and going through a course on marriage and family life, because it's so very important that these individuals understand what they're getting into before they say I do or I will. They have got to know whether or not before marriage that they are ready for that marriage, because a lot of them are not. They're marrying too soon. Or they're marrying because of pressure within the family or within their church. I remember at college, there was a big pressure on pastors to get married. And I often wondered, did they really marry the right person? Or did they marry because they had to because of their job? Did they marry because of love, or did they marry because being married as a pastor was more important? And I'm sure that a lot of you pastors out there understand this. But you have to understand that, okay, let me back up and say, I'm a finance guy. I'm a business guy. And I know that relationships within a business is so very important to make that business strong, to make that business grow and prosper. It takes solid relationships. And we go to business school to teach us how to do that. Teach us how to add and subtract and look at numbers and look at people and hire people and all these other different things. We are taught that in school. The problem with marriage, no one ever teaches that in school. No one teaches that anymore in the church's classrooms. The church needs to have a classroom on marriage and family life. I'm looking as I'm giving this lecture today on my podcast. I'm looking directly at my credentials of ministry as I'm giving this lecture to ministers. I'm looking at my credentials of liberty my credentials of ministry that says this is to certify that Michael Lodge is an ordained minister. But see, I'm not leading a church. I'm not leading a church family. I am a business guy and a mediator. Now, if people do want to get married through me, I do sit down with them and I do counsel them. Because I feel that that's an important part of the I do process. Now, I don't have enough time sometimes to give them a whole course lecture, and I wish I did. And I wish that I could point them to a church and say, listen, this church over here has a great marriage and family lecture series that I can send you to. And I want you to go to it. Because those words of I do have a lot of responsibility. And I want you to understand what's going to happen when you say I do and you become husband and wife. I know you were not taught this in school, which you should have. I think every school should teach a marriage and family life course. I'm afraid of what would be taught I'm afraid of what would be taught in a public institution, but at least in the Christian colleges and universities out there, design a course on marriage and family life because it's so vital for your students. A lot of them are going to find a person right there in your school, right there in your churches, and you're going to need to give them some substance to go with after they say I do. So I come to you after I've heard all of these mediation cases of divorce and separation and child support and supporting the family afterwards in the communication process. I tell you, I've had to put some mediations of divorce and separation on hold because of issues within the communication process. And it's important that I do that because it's a responsibility, I think, of a mediator to address the issues that are causing the situation of why we can't mediate at that moment. Sometimes you have to put a mediation on hold because things have got to be cleared up before you can come back and discuss the mediation, the communication process, the process of the decision making after divorce, after separation. So if you guys are thinking about getting married, find a course out there. Either it's online, or it's in a church, or it's in a school of some kind that teaches you the responsibilities that you will have under the terms marriage and family life. I know it's not romantic. I understand that. It's not a romantic decision, but it's something that has to be done. Because you have got to prepare yourself for a new role in life. You're changing your title from a single individual to a married individual. With that title, that new title of marriage, you have new responsibilities, new ways of communicating, new ways of doing things. Because you're working as a team now, not as a single individual. So there's responsibility there, and you've got to know that. Pastors, please, I'm asking you, create something within your church that teaches the young people about marriage and family life. You have a responsibility not just to get up every single Saturday or Sunday and give a sermon and a learning experience, but you also have a responsibility because you're performing marriages within your churches that you need to stand up and say, okay, I've got to teach these people of what this whole life of marriage and family is all about. Don't get into all of this. By the way, don't get into all of this psychological stuff and all of the other nonsense. Talk about the real facts of what marriage and family life is truly all about. It's an important step. I tell you, marriage is an important step. But you have to be prepared for it. And listen, you pastors who are performing these weddings, you have a responsibility to prepare these individuals that are coming before you to get ready to say I do, to know what is going to happen when they say I do. That's why you need to have those discussions on the finances. You need to have the discussion on debt. You need to have a discussion on communication. You need to have a discussion on God within the home and the rules of the home. How you're going to raise up your children. Have you had those discussions on how you're going to raise your children? Are you on the same road, or are you on a side road someplace not knowing exactly what to do? You're flip-flopping around. To say I do is a big deal. And I'm hearing so many disaster cases of individuals who did not know what they were going to get into. They were not prepared. They thought that marriage was going to be this happy, blissful home life. And for some it is, because they were trained well. So I want you to give some thought about that, because it's very, very important. Listen, as a mediator, I have heard and seen everything. I have literally had individuals. When I was doing, my office was huge in taxation in Los Angeles, and we would have couples come in one year. The next year, things changed. When they came in, they were divorced. But they came in together, which was amazing. They came in together, and we worked out this situation because things changed. They were no longer married. I have had situations where the couples came in the next year, and one was gay. One had turned into a gay person. I have had a situation where they came in the next year. They always come back together, which I encourage them to do, because I do a lot of counseling. I did a lot of counseling and a lot of mediation work while I was listening to their stories. So I've had even people come in the next year where they used to be a man and now they're a woman. When you're in Hollywood, California, anything can happen. So I've heard all of these aspects, all of these things that you would never think you would hear of what happens within a marriage. But they were never prepared for what marriage was really all about. Some people get married for the wrong reason. And sometimes we have to explore why are they getting married. Are they getting married because they're being pushed into it by their parents? Are they getting married because it's a norm within the traditional lives as Christians or Hindus or Muslims? Are they getting married because of those rules that they're expected to live? A lot of people get married without any love at all because they're expected to get married. Marriage and family life is an important aspect of every young person's life, especially in the college years. It's that time where people need to sit down and really focus on, okay, I'm thinking about marriage, but really, what is it all about? Am I prepared for it? Am I mature enough for it? Am I truly in love? So to all of you pastors out there, I encourage you, please, open up your doors of your church and begin ministering unto those that truly need teaching. Your doors have been shut for way too long, and it's time that you open them up and begin teaching people. You know there are safe ways of teaching. There are safe ways to minister. And there are safe ways to help those who are choosing the path of marriage to get ready for it. Otherwise, this marriage and family mediation is going to continue on. And that's not the road I wanted to go down. Professionally, I wanted business because I love business. But I am still using the teaching tools of mediation to help these people once they get past that divorce stage and separation stage, and how they're dealing with everything afterwards through mediation. Putting together a plan, set of rules, some boundaries, after they've said, I don't. This is Mike Lodge. Listen, if you have any questions or comments, or if you need to talk about marriage and family issues that you're having at the moment, and if you need some mediation services, just let me know by sending me a text at 818-252-5682. Again, that's 818-252-5682. Then you can also send me an email at info, at lodge, LODGE-co.com. Because I know that some of you are really long-winded. But on the texting, remember 25 words or less. Please, 25 words or less. And I will get back to you. If you have a long message, send me an email. If you would like to support my podcasting and the content that I try to deliver to you on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, go to buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge. Again, that's buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge. Now, we're going to face the day. Today's a brand new day. We're going to go out. We're going to do good. We're going to focus on helping someone today. And we're going to achieve a lot. Because why? We're focused on our life. We're focused on our daily road that we need to take. And we've decided, as of today, that we're also going to focus on marriage and family life issues. It's important. It's an important aspect of each of our lives. If you are married or thinking about getting married. So that's it for today. I want each and every one of you to pound the pavement, make some contacts, make some friends, make some business associates, and communicate very well. Remember, 25 words or less. That's all you need to say, 25 words or less. And you will accomplish a lot more. This is Mike Lodge. I'll talk with you soon. Have a great day. Bye. This podcast is produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content. Join us every single day. You can find us out on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google, Amazon. We're out there. Find us. Michael Lodge, Wealth, Business, and Taxes. Talk with you soon. Hi, this is Mike Lodge of The Michael Lodge Show. Join me on iHeartRadio and other podcast stations as we talk about wealth, business, and taxes. Oh, and some politics. Join me every day on the podcast that keeps focused on business.